Who'd like to read first?
I would be honored to.
Thank you. That'd be great.
And if you're not speaking, I suggest you put yourself on mute.
Yeah, good idea.
Thank you. Okay. When and how to apply for position. The information described here is the net result of many years of experience, during which thousands of men and women were helped to mark their services effectively. It can, therefore, be relied upon as sound and practical. Media through which services may be marked. Experience has proved that the following media offer the most direct and effective methods of bringing the buyer and seller of personal service together. Number one, employment bureaus. Care must be taken. Just a moment, I need to put my thing on Do Not Disturb so I can get rid of the noise. Okay, sorry. Okay, number one, employment bureaus. Care must be taken to select only reputable bureaus, the management of which can show adequate records of achievement of satisfactory results. There are comparatively few such bureaus. 2. Advertising. In newspapers, trade journals, magazines, and radio, classified advertising may usually be relied upon to produce satisfactory results in the case of those who apply for clerical or ordinary salesman salaried positions. Display advertising is more desirable in the case of those who seek exclusive connections. The copy to appear in the section of the paper which is most apt to come to the attention of the class of the employer being sought. The copy should be prepared by an expert who understands how to inject sufficient selling quantities or qualities to produce replies. 3. Personal letters of application directed to particular firms or individuals most apt to need such services as are being offered. Letters should be neatly typed, always, and signed by hand with the letter. Should be sent a complete brief or outline of the applicant's qualifications. Both the letter of application and the brief of experience or the qualifications should be prepared by an expert. See instructions as to information is to be applied. 4. Application through personal acquaintances. When possible, the applicant should endeavor to approach prospective employers through some mutual acquaintance. This method of approach is particularly advantageous in the cases of those who seek executive connections and do not wish to appear to be peddling themselves. 5. Application in person. In some instances, it may be more effective if the applicant offers personally his services to the prospective employers, in which even invent a complete written statement or qualifications for the position should be presented. For this reason, that prospective employer often wish to discuss with associations one's record. Information to be supplied in written brief. The brief should be prepared as carefully as a lawyer would prepare the brief of a case to be tried in court. Unless the applicant is experienced in the preparation of such briefs, an expert should be consulted, and his services enlisted for the purpose. Successful merchants employ men and women who understand that the art and psychology of advertising to present the merits of their merchandise. One who has personal services for sale should do the same. The following information should appear in the brief. Number 1, education. State briefly, by definitely what schooling you have had, and in what subjects you specialize in school, giving the reasons for that specialization. Experience. If you have had experience in connection with positions similar to the one you seek. Describe it fully. State names and addresses of former employers. Be sure to bring out clearly and any special experience you may have had which would equip you to fill the position you seek. References. Practically every business firm desires to know all about the previous records, antecedents, etc. a prospective employee who seek positions of responsibility. Attached to your brief photostatic copies of letters from A. former employers, B. teachers under whom you studied, C. prominent people whose judgment may be relied upon. 4. Photograph of self. Attached to your brief a recent unmounted photograph of yourself. 5. Apply for a specific position. Avoid application for a position without describing exactly what particular position you seek. Never apply for just a position. That indicates you lack specialized qualifications. Anyone else would like to take over?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Bill.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Yes, finally.
All right, I guess it's me. 6. State your qualifications for the particular position for which you apply. Give full details as to the reason you believe you are qualified for the particular position you seek. This is the application. It will determine more than anything else what consideration you receive. 7. Offer to go to work on probation. In the majority of instances, if you are determined to have the position for which you apply, it'll be most effective if you offer to work for a week or a month or for a sufficient length of time to enable your prospective employer to judge your value without pay. This may appear to be a radical suggestion, but experience has proved that it seldom fails to win at least a trial. If you are sure of your qualifications, a trial is all you need. Incidentally, such an offer indicates that you have confidence in your ability to fill the position you seek. It is most convincing. If your offer is accepted and you make good, more than likely you will be paid for your probation period. Make clear the fact that your offer is based upon A. your confidence in your ability to fill the position, B. your confidence in your prospective employer's decision to employ you after trial, C. your determination to have the position you seek. 8. Knowledge of your prospective employer's business. Before applying for a position, do sufficient research in connection with the business to familiarize yourself thoroughly with that business and indicate in your brief the knowledge you have acquired in this field. This will be impressive as it will indicate that you have imagination and a real interest in the position you seek. Remember that it is not the lawyer who knows the most law, but the one who best prepares his case who wins. If your case is properly prepared and presented, your victory will have been more than half won at the outset. Do not be afraid of making your brief too long. Employers are just as much interested in purchasing the services of well-qualified applicants as you are in securing employment. In fact, the success of most successful employers is due in the main to their ability to select well-qualified lieutenants. They want all the information available. Remember another thing. Neatness in the preparation of your brief will indicate that you are a painstaking person. I have helped to prepare briefs for clients who were so striking and out of the ordinary that they resulted in the employment of the applicant without a personal interview. When your brief has been completed, have it neatly bound by an experienced binder and lettered by an artist or printer similar to the following. Brief of the qualifications of Robert K. Smith, applying for the position of Private Secretary to the President of the blank company, Inc. Change the names each time the brief is shown. This personal touch is sure to command attention. Have your brief neatly typed or mimeographed on the finest paper you can obtain and bound with a heavy paper of the book cover variety, the binder to be changed, and the proper firm name to be inserted if it is to be shown to more than one company. Your photograph should be pasted on one of the pages of your brief. Follow these instructions to the letter, improving upon them whenever your imagination suggests. Someone else want to take over?
Yeah, sure, carry on.
Thanks, Chris.
Successful salesmen groom themselves with care. They understand that first impressions are lasting. Your brief is your salesman. Give it a good suit of clothes so it will stand out in bold contrast to anything your prospective employer ever saw in the way of an application for a position. If the position you seek is worth having, it is worth going after with care. Moreover, if you sell yourself to an employer in a manner that impresses him with your individuality, you probably will receive more money for your services from the very start than you would if you applied for employment in the usual conventional way. If you seek employment through an advertising agency or an employment agency, have the agent use copies of your brief in marketing your services. This will help to gain preferences for you, both with the agent and the prospective employers. How to get the exact position you desire. Everyone enjoys doing the kind of work for which he is best suited. An artist loves to work with paints, a craftsman with his hands, a writer loves to write. Those with less definite talents have their preferences for certain fields of business and industry. If America does anything well, it offers a full range of occupations, tilling the soil, manufacturing, marketing, and the professions. First, decide exactly what kind of job you want. If the job doesn't already exist, perhaps you can create it. Second, choose the company or individual for whom you wish to work. Third, study your prospective employer as to policies, personnel, and chances of advancement. Fourth, by analysis of yourself, your talents and capabilities, figure what you can offer and plan ways and means of giving advantages, services, developments, ideas that you believe you can successfully deliver. Fifth, forget about a job. Forget whether or not there is an opening. Forget the usual routine of, have you got a job for me? Concentrate on what you can give. Sixth, once you have your plan in mind, arrange with an experienced writer to put it on paper in neat form and in full detail. Seventh, present it to the proper person with authority, and he will do the rest. Every company is looking for men who can give something of value, whether it be ideas, services, or connections. Every company has room for the man who has a definite plan of action, which is to the advantage of that company. This line of procedure may take a few days or weeks of extra time, but the difference in income, in advancement, and in gaining recognition will save years of hard work at small pay. It has many advantages, the main one being that it will often save from 1 to 5 years of time in reaching a chosen goal. Every person who starts or gets in halfway up the ladder does so by deliberate and careful planning. Excepting, of course, the boss's son. It's nice. Okay, someone else?
I can go. This is Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
The new way of marketing services. Jobs are now partnerships. Men and women who market their services to best advantage in the future most recognize the stupendous change which has taken place in connection with the relationship between employer and employee. In the future, the golden rule, and not the rule of gold, will be the dominating factor in the marketing of merchandise as well as personal services. The future relationship between employers and their employees will be more in the nature of a partnership consisting of A, the employer, B, the employee, and C, the public they serve. This new way of marketing personal services is called new for many reasons. First, both the employer and the employee of the future will be considered as fellow employees whose business it will be to serve the public efficiently. And in times past, employees have bartered among themselves, driving the best bargains they could with one another, not considering that in the final analysis they were, in reality, bargaining at the expense of the third party, the public they served. The Depression served as a mighty protest from an injured public, whose rights had been trampled upon in every direction by those who were clamoring for individual advantages and profits. When the debris of the Depression shall have been cleared away, and business shall have been once again restored to balance, both employers and employees will recognize that they are no longer privileged to drive bargains at the expense of those whom they serve. The real employer of the future will be the public. This should be kept uppermost in mind of every person seeking to market personal services effectively. Nearly every railroad in America is in financial difficulty. Who does not remember the day when, if a citizen inquired at the ticket office the time of departure of a train, he was abruptly referred to the bulletin board instead of being politely given the information? Streetcar companies have experienced a change of times also. There was a time not so very long ago when streetcar conductors took pride in giving argument to passengers. Many of the streetcar tracks have been removed, and passengers ride on a bus whose driver is the last word in politeness. All over the country, streetcar tracks are resting from abandonment or have been taken up. Wherever streetcars are still in operation, passengers may now ride without argument, and one may even hail the car in the middle of a block, and the motorman will obligingly pick him up. How times have changed. That is just the point I am trying to emphasize. Times have changed. Moreover, the change is reflected not merely on railroad offices and on streetcars, but in other walks of life as well. The public be damned policy is now passé. It has been supplanted by the I'm getting tongue-tied here. We are I can't even say this word now. I know what it's saying. At your service, sir policy. The bankers have learned a thing or two during this rapid change which has been placed during the past few years. Impoliteness on the part of the bank official or bank employee today is as rare as it was conspicuous a dozen years ago. In the recent past, some bankers, not all of them of course, carried an atmosphere of austerity which gave every would-be borrower a chill when he even thought of approaching his banker for a loan. The thousands of bank failures during the Depression had the effect of removing the mahogany doors behind which bankers formerly barricaded themselves. They now sit at the desk in the open, where they may be seen and approached at will by any depositor or by anyone who wishes to see them, and the whole atmosphere of the bank is one of courtesy and understanding. Anyone want to go on?
It's
I'm
Cheryl
happy
here.
to go on.
I can take over. Or do you want to go, Yasmin?
I don't mind, Cheryl. You go. It's fine.
Okay. Where were we? Courtesy and understanding. It used to be customary for customers to have to stand and wait at the corner grocery until the clerks were through passing the time of day with friends and the proprietor had finished making up his bank deposit before being waited upon. Chain stores managed by courteous men who do everything in the way of service, short of shining the customer's shoes, have pushed the old-time merchants into the background. Time marches on. Courtesy and service are the watchwords of merchandising today and apply to the person who is marketing personal services even more directly than to the employer whom he serves, because in the final analysis, both the employer and his employee are employed by the public they serve. If they fail to serve well, they pay by the loss of their privilege of serving. We can all remember the time when the gas meter reader pounded on the door hard enough to break the panels. When the door was opened, he pushed his way in, uninvited, with a scowl on his face which plainly said, "What the hell did you keep me waiting for?" All that has undergone a change. The meter man now conducts himself as a gentleman who is delighted to be at your service, sir. Before the gas companies learned that their scowling metermen were accumulating liabilities never to be cleared away, the polite salesman of oil burners came along and did a land office business. During the Depression, I spent several months in the anthracite coal region of Pennsylvania, studying conditions which all but destroyed the coal industry. Among several very significant discoveries was the fact that greed on the part of operators and their employees was the chief cause of the loss of business for operators and loss of jobs for the miners. Through the pressure of a group of overzealous labor leaders representing the employees and the greed for profits on the part of the operators, the anthracite business suddenly dwindled. The coal operators and their employees drove sharp bargains with one another, adding the cost of the bargaining to the price of the coal until finally they discovered they had built up a wonderful business for the manufacturers of oil-burning outfits and the producers of crude oil. The wages of sin is death. Many have read this in the Bible, but few have discovered its meaning. Now and for several years the entire world has been listening by force to a sermon which might well be called, "Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." Nothing as widespread and effective as the Depression could possibly be just a coincidence. Behind the Depression was a cause. Nothing ever happens without a cause. In the main, the cause of the Depression is traceable directly to the worldwide habit of trying to reap without sowing. This should not be mistaken to mean that the Depression represents a crop which the world is being forced to reap without having sown. The trouble is that the world sowed the wrong sort of seed. Any farmer knows he cannot sow the seeds of thistles and reap a harvest of grain. Beginning at the outbreak of the World War, the people of the world began to sow the seed of service inadequately in both quality and quantity. Nearly everyone was engaged in the pastime of trying to get without giving. These illustrations are brought to the attention of those who have personal services to market to show that we are where we are and what we are because of our own conduct. If there is a principle of cause and effect which controls business, finance, and transportation, this same principle controls individuals and determines their economic status. Would someone like to take over now?
I don't mind taking over, but I've actually lost my place. What line did you end on?
We're on line 778.
Okay, fabulous. I'll be there in 1 second. So I'm on my computer and I pressed the arrow too hard. Was it 778?
Yeah.
Here we go. Wonderful. Thank you. The causes of success in marketing services effectively and permanently have been clearly described. Unless those causes are studied, analysed, understood and applied, no man can market his services effectively and permanently. Every person must be his own salesman of personal services. The quality and the quantity of service rendered and the spirit in which it is rendered determine to a large extent the price and the duration of employment. To market personal services effectively, which means a permanent market at a satisfactory price under pleasant conditions, one must adopt and follow the QQS formula, which means that quality plus quantity plus the proper spirit of cooperation equals perfect salesmanship of service. Remember the QQS formula, but do more. Apply it as a habit. Let us analyse the formula to make sure we understand exactly what it means. Quality of service shall be construed to mean the performance of every detail in connection with your position in the most efficient manner possible, with the object of greater efficiency always in mind. Quantity of service shall be understood to mean the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable at all times, with the purpose of increasing the amount of service rendered as greater skill is developed through practice and experience. Emphasis is again placed on the word habit. Spirit of service shall be construed to mean the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct which will induce cooperation from associates and fellow employees. Adequacy of quality and quantity of service is not sufficient to maintain a permanent market for your services. The conduct or the spirit in which you deliver service is a strong determining factor in connection with both the price you receive and the duration of employment. Andrew Carnegie stressed this point more than others in connection with his description of the factors which lead to success in the marketing of personal services. He emphasized again and again the necessity for harmonious conduct. He stressed the fact that he would not retain any man, no matter how great a quantity or how efficient the quality of his work, unless he worked in a spirit of harmony. Mr. Carnegie insisted upon men being agreeable. To prove that he placed a high value upon this quality, he permitted many men who conformed to his standards to become very wealthy. Those who did not conform had to make room for others. The importance of a pleasing personality has been stressed because it is a factor which enables one to render service in the proper spirit. If one has a personality which pleases and renders service in a spirit of harmony, these assets often make up for deficiencies in both the quality and the quantity of service one renders. Nothing, however, can be successfully substituted for pleasing conduct. The capital value of your services.
We're going to finish there, Yasmin.
Oh, great. No, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just mean it like wonderful. Thank you. Sorry.
So, a lot of information there. Who can come up with some modern day examples of what's been spoken about here?
I used to work in with a bank when I was in the mortgage industry, and I was working with Bank of America, and this was back probably about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And just before that, they used to have their customers coming in. They used to really give them a lot of the service was there, and people would enjoy going in and getting served. And then they started, this was really an interesting, I got to see this all in process. Then they started to conduct people to go outside and use the ATM teller and then the drive-in and, have everybody go to the ATM to do their deposits and to, withdraw their money, and then also, getting people to go through the drive-in instead of coming in and then directing them to go online. Well, what happened was it totally destroyed their whole system. I mean, the banks of America today, you walk in, there's hardly nobody in there. their customer. I mean, they're trying to rebuild everything that they totally destroyed, and this is just such an example of what he's talking about here. And it's just so interesting how some of these bigger banks went back to that whole thing that happened back in, goodness, was this in the 30s or 40s during the Depression? And I remember the days when Bank of America was so huge. I mean, they had, just offices all over the place, and now it's just skimping down to hardly nothing. And it's all because they didn't want to do the customer service, and they wanted to cut back on their employers, and it's really has taken a toll on the people that are trying to work there and serve people. It was really an interesting concept to watch.
Yes, automation has definitely affected a lot of places. For those of you in the U.S., there's the current push for higher minimum wage, and with the thought by the government officials is, oh, you can pay your people more, and it's not going to affect your business. And what's happening is that the companies, like if you go into like a McDonald's now, they're starting with the order for yourself, via a terminal, and then just get and pay at the terminal, and then just the people in the back will make the food and hand it out. So you're losing the order takers who were behind the counter. Now, the big thing is, how is that going to affect things down the road? And that's yet to be seen here. But yeah, the biggest cost in business now is the employee, and it has been for a long time. And Maggie, your example of Bank of America fits that to a T. It used to be when I was a kid, which is many decades ago. Hey, don't laugh. It's true. The truth is neither good nor bad. It is simply the truth. But I would go into my local bank, and you might have 15 tellers working in that bank at any given time. And you'd still have a line of like 3 or 4 people at each teller. Now you go into a bank, and you're lucky if there's one teller working. I mean, I go into my local bank here, and I could easily go to the ATM to conduct my business, but I prefer to go in and actually interact with a live person. And the day that my bank stops that, then I'll go to a different bank.
Yeah, it's definitely getting impersonal. even at the shops, we have our serve yourself, at Woolworths, and I don't know if you have Big W over there or Kmart. You're checking yourself out. You don't even have anyone to say, hello, how's your day? Thank you for shopping with us. It's just an automated teller.
Well, sometimes I like it. Go ahead, Callie.
Sorry to interrupt. We also have the opportunity to speak out to our local places. Like, for example, what I did was, I see the trend happening, like wanting to replace everything with technology. Well, you can do that, but you still need to have human interaction, and for some of us who, we do much better at that anyway. And so, I've talked to, like, for example, when I've gone into like stores or something like that, like, where they're starting to have more of a self-service type of thing, is I will intentionally leave comments to an employer that, I really appreciate that you guys still have some actual persons to be able to have this this as an option as opposed to just only your own checkout thing. And I've also done it with, been in contact with customer service through like PayPal, in fact, and in some of these other places where, I tell them, I said, this is really important to be able to have someone to talk through things like this. If there's something going on or somebody's, needing to really, it's great and wonderful to have all these recordings and everything, but it cannot replace the human spirit, needing to interact. So they've actually have made sure that we're going to have quality of customer service available if you're needing it.
What I've noticed, sorry.
Sorry.
What I've noticed, though, you guys, is that, and too, I was in the banking system in Canada for 34 years, and I saw the change happening many, many years ago. And they still put an emphasis on customer service, but not in the transactional type of business. But what I've really noticed in the customer service area in any industry lately is that the young people these days, they don't really give the same kind of service that we expect and we enjoy. And I've come to the conclusion that it's because they don't want that kind of service themselves when they're on the other side of the counter. They're too busy on their phones and texting and whatever they're doing. They really are not looking for a connection with the person on the other side of the counter.
Yeah, that's sad.
And I was just, if I could add, on the reverse of that, last week I opened an account. So in the UK, there's a bank called Metro. It's a new bank. And as I walked in, the bank manager greets you at the door. And I was with my daughter. They offered me a coffee and they offered my daughter a drink. And I'll be really honest, I was quite frustrated at first. I was like, what? No, come on. I'm looking at my watch thinking, oh, how long is this going to take? And it took me until I'd finished my coffee, because I said yes, thanks, obviously. And I'd sat down with my daughter and then we sat with somebody, we opened an account for her. And I realized what an enjoyable experience it was to actually talk to somebody. They're they're going all out to make a difference and bring back customer service. But I'm used to not having to talk to anybody. I go into the bank. I do everything online, actually. And if I do go into the bank, I want it to be quick. And it's just because of what I'm used to. The experience last week when I opened my account with my daughter, I mean, the coffee, at first I was horrified because I was thinking, well, how long is this going to take? What do you mean, do I want a coffee? But actually, it was really quite nice to just sit and talk to them, enjoy my coffee, and we just.
That's hilarious, Lorraine. It really is that you were horrified
for a while. The world didn't stop moving. We opened the account, we laughed, and and she explained everything about. Yeah, I was busy, but actually I wasn't. I just thought I was busy. I thought I didn't have enough time for this because that's the way that I'm thinking I'm going about. I've got to open this account for my daughter, and then I've got things to do. And in my head, I had a lot going on, but actually. I didn't really. And it was quite nice to sit and we had a coffee but the manager, and then after we opened the account, the manager comes over, sits down and asks you about your experience, and he just says, look, when you first open, this is what we do, and we want to be able to have conversations with our customers, and we want to be able to talk to them and bring back that human interaction. And actually, yeah, I love it. I might move my account over because, but I hadn't initially. I was a bit taken aback.
Would we call that a paradigm that we think we're too busy?
Yeah.
When we're not?
Well, I've got a good sort of experience again in the UK, up in Scotland. This time it's in a cinema. Edinburgh's got a whole range of the big cinemas, but there's also one independent cinema that's still owned by the original owners, I think. And what's neat is it's very different to go into. It's smaller, but quite often you'll go into the auditorium where the film is showing or the films, and they might have a cup of tea for you, or maybe a wee sort of box of chocolates that you might want a few. And certainly all the times I've been there, and they also have, big settees, and so it's a different experience to a typical big cinema experience. But at the end, at least when I went there last, the owner was there in his tux saying, "Thank you very much for coming, see you again." And it was such a personal touch. It really stood out.
So that's somebody
that's-
using their imagination to find a different way to do business.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And certainly when I go over to Delhi a fair bit, over to India, and just in an ordinary suburb of Delhi, not a tourist area, and I always like it when I go into a shop where I get my photocopying done. I can't speak Hindi, and the guy, the owner, doesn't speak English. But he always gets someone to go and get me a glass of chai or a glass of water, and we sit down and we sort of enjoyably enjoy each other's company. And again, it's just a nice interaction. It takes longer, obviously, but it's sort of I like it. So there's it's amazing those small differences that make a big difference.
No, I agree, Chris. When I was in banking many, many years ago, and then I switched over and did heaps of other things. And one of the things I did was to go and work in a restaurant in Mayfair. And I'm quite a goal-driven person, and like to see results and the impact of my input, and would take things on with the man that owned the chain. And one of the things I did was I used to take on calling every single table, and it was a large restaurant. If we took a reservation, I would then sort of phone them probably 2 or 3 days later to confirm that they were still coming, and sort of try and create the dining experience before it even happened. And the goal that I set was that we wouldn't have like any no-shows each night, and it had a massive impact. And I think just sort of taking a few seconds and just to really briefly confirm that they were coming, I think it made them feel valued. Actually, we really valued their customer, and so it's a good thing to do, and it definitely impacted the bottom line of the restaurant. And we sort of rolled that out across the chain. So and I like it if people do that to me, if they sort of make sure that I'm enjoying the experience and so on. And I think it's a shame if that gets missed, I really do. If it stops because of technology, that's, tremendous shame. But in a way, it gives us an opportunity as well in our own respective businesses to really apply it, because it would make us stand out against other companies that may not be doing that or may be cutting back on the service.
Yeah, there's so many little things you can do. Many years ago, I took over a Williams shoe store that was dying, and I said to the staff, we need to do some extra things here to make us stand out. We live in quite a small place in Cairns, and it's repeat customer service, so we need to be making sure that we're looking after the customers. So we just brainstormed a few different things that we could do that other stores weren't offering, and one of them was just something as simple as walking around the front of the counter to hand the person their bag in a more personal way. Just little things like that we did, and the store picked up, and the store stayed open. When I first took over, it was on the cards that it was going to close. So just little things that you can come up with to stand out from the crowd. People really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins, makes a point. What's the difference, between fair and good? Well, it's a certain amount. Between good and excellent, well, it's probably about the same amount. But what's the difference between excellent and outstanding? Just that little bit. And it's just those little things that will make you stand out from the crowd, and have, people will then come back to your business.
That's such a good point, Bill, because just in the last paragraph that we read today, when we're talking about, or he's talking about the, you know, the proper spirit and being in the spirit of harmony. And you can just see that. It's that little bit between excellent and outstanding. And you can feel that when you're walking into a place and you, especially like maybe a restaurant or even a store of any kind, and you have that sense of harmony within there. And when you walk in and you feel like you're really welcome there, it's so much different than when you walk in a store and they're so busy behind the counter, or they're really just ignoring you. I mean, sometimes I don't mind being ignored because I'm just really kind of just wasting time in my mind. But there are times when you really feel like you want to be welcomed no matter what it is. And so that quality, what did he say, is this quality plus quantity plus proper spirit of cooperation equals perfect salesmanship of service. And it's just exactly that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we were down in New Orleans, not this past week, but the week before, and we go into a restaurant, and this one little cafe, only 8 tables, but we felt so welcome there that we went back every day. And you're in New Orleans, and there's plenty of fantastic restaurants all over the French Quarter. But we went back to this same restaurant every day because we felt so comfortable there.
Makes a difference.
And that kind of service, I think, would you guys agree that it kind of ties into the idea of leaving everyone with the impression of increase?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would you define that for like that kind of environment? Of increase of what?
Well, I guess if you're in a restaurant and it's the increase in enjoyment, I guess, because that's what they're going to your restaurant for, is to enjoy a meal, right? So you're giving them an increase in enjoyment.
And I suppose, and also I'd say that in a restaurant too, it's a sense of making you feel welcome. You know, so you're cause I go to I work in coffee shops a lot. That's my kind of place where I can focus, and it makes such a difference when they're I've got my regular spots when they're friendly, or hiya Chris, is it the same decaf latte, this kind of stuff. You really feel like you've got a bit of a rapport, and it when you go to a place, and so you feel sort of it's like almost developing a home from home, for me anyway, and that rapport really creates that.
Yeah.
And the increase of service, if you will, or if you think about it this way, go into a restaurant or any establishment, I don't care what it is, but if the wait staff or the clerks helping you, or supposedly helping you, are surly or abrupt, you don't feel comfortable. You're not going to go back to that store or restaurant again.
Right.
Okay, if they are pleasant and are, if you go into a clothes store and okay, I need to find okay, for a guy, a shirt and a tie, for sake of argument, and the clerks simply say, oh, the shirts are over there and the ties are over there. Well, gee, that's real good. But me being, shall we say, handicapped as far as picking out clothing.
Your clothing challenge, Bill.
Yes, well, I mean, the family used to joke. I'd wear a blue suit, a blue shirt, and a blue tie, and they wouldn't go together. But they were all blue. So, I mean, yes, I was rather challenged that way. But if the clerk came out and said, okay, let's help, let's get you the right size shirt, and what color do you like, yada yada yada, and then let's go over and pick out a tie that goes with it. Okay, that would help me a hell of a lot, and I'm going to go back to that store.
Yeah.
Service.
I had an experience a couple of weeks ago. 3 establishments in a row. I had my car booked in to have new tyres put on, and then straight afterwards to have a wheel alignment. I arrived at the tyre place at 7:30 when my appointment was. My tyres weren't there, so I didn't get a courtesy call to say, don't worry about coming in because we don't have your tyres. So I went over to get the wheel alignment done, and then they said the tyres would be there soon. So I arrived at the wheel alignment appointment 15 minutes early, and I waited until 15 minutes after my appointment. The establishment was open, there was no one there, so they weren't even there for my appointment at 8 a.m. So at 8:15, I went back to the tyre place. The tyres were there, I got them on, I went back and had my wheel alignment done, and then while the wheel alignment was being done, I walked down a block to a snack bar and bought a drink, and I didn't have any cash on me, and it was a $4 drink, and I said, can I use my card for $4? And she said, well, you'll have to put 50 cents in the cup, it's up to you. And I thought, goodness me, can I really go to 3 businesses in a row within a matter of an hour and have such terrible service? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's pretty sad, Nicole.
Well, isn't it funny how this is the same? It's not just in the U.S. or London, or it's appearing to be like this all around the world. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, they must have too much money or something that they don't have to worry about what kind of a service they're offering, or they just don't care. I'm not sure what it is, but they could really have a fantastic business if they just cared a little more about their customer service.
Or they're just having a bad day. Having a bad day.
Sorry, Gilly?
Or they're just having a bad day, but you said they just don't care.
Yeah, they could just be having a bad day. My timing may have been bad.
Well, with a lot of it, they don't care anymore. Okay, many companies feel that they have what you want, and you're going to come to them whether they're going to give good service or not. Now, where I live, tires, well, there's about 4 or 5 different places I could go for tires. And if they're not going to serve me well in one company, I'll go to a different one. And they know that.
I actually made the phone call while I was standing at the wheel alignment place. Everything was open. I could hear his phone ringing when I was trying to call him. I called another tyre and wheel alignment place while I was standing out front of his business. Lucky for him, they couldn't fit me in. But in my mind, I was already out of there.
Well, I wonder, it's funny, I saw a quote from Richard Branson of Virgin the other day, and the quote was something like, no, your customers aren't your number one priority, your staff are. And his point was that if as a CEO, if you look after your staff really well, that will spill over into how they then look after your customers. So I wondered if your tired people, of your lousy coffee person, I wonder if they had what their bosses were like.
Yes. Well, I think she was the boss, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, shit, that's not good.
And there was a lady there in training and who was actually the one serving me, and she asked the boss about being able to use the card, and when the boss responded that way, she looked at me and she was quite taken aback. I don't think she was very comfortable in her new role.
I mean.
Yeah, and it's like Branson, with that attitude, I think he will wind up losing business.
Oh, that's interesting. Why is that, Bill? That's an interesting thought.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. If your customers are not your number one priority, who's going to bring your business in? Your staff, if they know, I mean, let me tell you a story from long time ago in the IT consulting business. There was one company that every year it wasn't, uh, gee, you did a good job. How much should we increase your pay or whatever? It was, why shouldn't I fire you?
Or
Okay, now it's a little extreme, but if you think about it, too many places, uh, the feeling is, okay, well, I got hired by this company. I'm going to be here until I want to leave. All right, and that doesn't work. I mean, it used to be, oh, great, it was a cradle to the grave job, and people were happy to have the job, but the attitudes of people have changed somewhat. Like here, what was it? Lorraine was saying, well, I walked into the bank and I expected to be able to, just open my account real quick, and here I am getting a cup of coffee. It's the people, in many cases, are not, you know, they feel like they're entitled to the job, and it's not to give very good service necessarily. They're entitled, and if they're not concentrating on taking care of the customer, then that company is going to lose. So your customer, the people who are sending the money into your company, really should be your top priority. I'm not saying neglect your staff, but you got to take care of your customer, or you have no business.
Yeah. Hi, this is Arvin. I also agree, and I can see the other perspective in that idea as well. I think what Brendan Bichard meant by that concept is that to know your ideal clients and you take care of your staff members, because the staff members is only focused on your ideal clients as opposed to, so it's the 20-80%. So you can't possibly be focusing on every single customers. So what I think he's saying is that you focus a lot more, not necessarily mistreating anyone, just focusing a lot more on certain customers that are your ideal clients. And that is how he is he is transforming his business to the level he is at.
Yeah, but if you're only taking care of, say, the 20% of your clients who bring in 80% of your business, which is the typical thing, the 80-20 rule, yeah, you'll have 80% of your business, but how bad will your business get if you lose the 20% that decide they're not happy with you because they're not getting the service? Yes, let's say you're an airline. Yes, you definitely want to take care of your frequent flyers, who fly a lot, and your first-class passengers. But you don't want to treat the rest of cattle class like garbage. Okay, you want it, because if you do, half the bulk of your airplane is going to wind up being empty. So you got to, you have to strike the right balance there. Okay, take care of everyone. Treat everyone with respect. Treat everyone like you would want them to treat you.
Another area to think about too is that how it makes us feel. We want to make sure that we're feeling the best we can be, and we can only feel our best if we're offering our best. So, we have to think about ourselves in this whole scenario as well.
That makes sense.
I mean, I work in IT, and yes, I contribute, if you will, to the lack of people in customer relations, if you will. But I've worked at banks, and my thing is performance tuning. And I'll go and I'll talk to the programmers, and I'll say to them, look, if you don't care about how efficient your programs are, if you as a customer went up to your ATM and it took you 5 minutes to get $100 out of the machine, what's your first impulse? And the thing is, you're going to go to a different bank. The one that's going to the ATM is going to work faster. So everyone has to, the biggest focus has to be on the customer. Because otherwise, you're out of a job.
Bill, there's a very interesting man in Japan, but I cannot remember his name. But if I can find it, I can send you the article, because it was very similar to what Chris was talking about, that he put all of his emphasis on the staff, not the shareholders nor the customers, because he knew that if his staff felt valued and really taken care of, that, implicitly the customers would be the priority, because they would be the staff's priority, because the staff felt very taken care of. I can't think of a better word at this time of night. They sort of felt some ownership of the company, and they wanted to do the best that they possibly could for the customer. So in a way, the customer was the priority, but the staff were given, he made sure that the staff were really, really well looked after. And he's he's a really famous Japanese man. I can't think of his name though. Billionaire, absolutely, probably multi-billionaire. I just cannot recall his name.
Is it Kiyosaki?
Irving Kiyosaki.
No, it's somebody else. I've got it somewhere. I'll have a look if I can find it.
But by the same token, and again, I'm not, I'm not saying mistreat anyone, especially your employees, your staff. Okay, but if you take care of your staff to the point of, okay, fine. Well, there was this one guy in the United States. I forgot what company he was running, but he said, okay, I'm going to give everybody a living wage. Everybody's going to make a minimum of $75,000. So some people got like a $30,000 raise. Okay, but that did not improve the company. Okay, you have to treat your people properly and right, and give them a sense of not entitlement, but belonging, if you will. Okay, that they are stakeholders in the company. Okay, and it's their jobs to take care of the customers. Okay, take care of your people. I mean, but by the same token, if you're taking care of the people where they're not getting that sense of taking care of the customer, you do lose your business. Okay, so you have to have that right balance. And I'm not saying don't treat anybody poorly. You got to treat everybody well. But where should your priority really be? And that's the big question.
Always treat your employees exactly as you want them to treat your best customers. If you don't take care of your employees, then they're just there they wouldn't care about your customers. They just want to get paid. They just want their salary and that's it. But if you treat them nicely, say hello, how's your day, that will make a difference. And make sure they eat, they getting lunch, good food like in the hotels. Because if in a country I know their employees just get the how do you say, the tourists get like the best food, and the employees just get like the poor food, and that's not treating your employees good, and they are just there to they want their salary and that's it. So you have to take care of your employees also.
Right. If if all you're doing is paying your people and you're not treating them well, then you're going to get poor results from your employees, and therefore it's going to affect your customer base. Okay? But
Yes.
if you're, and this is to me anyway, if the primary focus is taking care of the employee and not the customer, again, if it moves, slides over, if you will, if the employees are of the mindset of taking care of the customer, okay, and you're treating your employees well and having them take care of the customer properly, then that's all good, and that's the way it should be. My only statement here is, if you don't have customers, you don't have a company to treat your staff well with. Okay?
That's also.
I suppose it could be also the way to maybe.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, sorry there. Yeah, I agree with Bill, and I think probably it may be a bit of doesn't need to be an either or, because obviously in this respect, as you say, a customer service and focus is vital, and in another you can see that if you're in a company where your employees are being treated badly, then the chances are it's going to be hard for them to be treated badly and then to give their best to their customers. So perhaps in the kind of, in what maybe Hill is emphasizing here in terms of how important the spirit is that maybe it's a kind of a both and, so that if everyone is being left with a sense of increase, so if the boss is really treating his or her employees really well, they feel appreciated, it puts them in a right environment to kind of hopefully a better vibration themselves, that will then in turn focus on the spillover and then lead to good customer service. So so maybe it's a kind of a thing where if you have a good spirit prevailing, then both your focus on your customers is looked after and your care of your employees is looked after, and it all works together for the good.
I totally agree, Chris. I don't think there should be a focus on one or the other. It's the idea is that your number one focus is to provide good customer service, but treating your employees well and having good employees is a means to that that objective.
Hmm.
It's not that you choose one or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? They're as important as your goods or your service. Your employees are more important actually than your goods that you're serving or selling or your service. They are part of your business, so you have to have a good service or a good product, but you also have to have employees that are happy with where they work and have incentive, reward, recognition, empowerment, all of that, and that will do all of those things. It's going to unfold into good customer service.
Yeah, recognition
Can you
is
ask
really
yourself,
good.
what value can I give? What value can I give?
Yeah.
And if
Well, I was just thinking too, as we've been
Go on, Maggie.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking as we were talking through this is that we put a lot of emphasis on the business and their customer service and stuff. And how about, we're learning all these things about how we can increase the vibration. How about, coming into a situation and coming in with a high vibration and just, like we are in a good mood. And yes, sometimes, employees do have that attitude. And what if we just came in and just started being really nice ourselves and coming in and just saying hi and complimenting them on something, maybe they haven't been complimented forever about anything, or just finding something that you can say that is positive. And, perhaps we could close on this chapter or close on this segment of just thinking of good ways we could bring good things into those places that are really struggling with that kind of an attitude, and making that's how coming in with leaving every person that we come in contact with an increase in something or feeling an increase in themselves. Maybe that's what we could focus on, because we can't change what other employers are doing or what their customer services are doing unless we change and we come in and and just create a different environment for them.
Good point.
Anyway, my thought.
Yep.
Be the
I really
change,
like
be the
that idea.
example.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I think that people really, when they're receiving recognition, they go that extra mile to fulfill that prophecy, I guess, for want of a better word. So if the boss is praising their staff and telling them what a great job they're doing, they're going to continue to prove that correct, improve those expectations.
That's one thing that struck me. I think that I agree with. I sort of feel that as well. And I don't know if those of you who've been sort of looking at were involved in any of the either TAGR seminar or the more recent one. But one thing that strikes me is whenever Bob talks about the company or his staff, he is always so positive. They're the best at this, and you can't. I'm sure if you're staff with him, you can't help but be left with a sense of real increase. Just the way he works with you.
No,
Yeah.
exactly, Chris. Yeah, definitely. I've taken it on with my children, actually. I've been looking at why certain goals fulfilled last year and those that didn't. And one foundation I really need to improve on is my children, and hiring more people to help me. And but I really took on, I think it's from Nicole sharing about one of your visioneering activities is to visioneer your children being really well behaved and you being calm. I think that was it. I'm not getting my words across. And I've really taken that for myself with my children. But I've also been applying a lot of the Bob technology, and also as a child specialist in the US, Jane Nelson, I think her name is, positive discipline, and really, really focusing on the positive and praising them. And honestly, since the beginning of the year, there's been a marked improvement in our morning routine, in the children's behaviour. We've still got a way to go at night, but it's just amazing. Whereas I'm very quick to pull them up on things when they haven't done them well. But I've really minimised. I'm still holding them to account to what they have to do, but I'm putting the focus more on really praising them when they've done something very basic or very simple, just so it's acknowledged. And I'm using a lot of it, actually. It's having a great impact on their results academically, and I think, wow, that's incredible.
That's one
magical.
of the. It is. That's one of the things that we're taught when working with children, is to look for situations and possibilities of being able to praise them, because they thrive on that. All they want to do is please adults.
Yeah.
That's their whole aim in life. Besides walking, then running, then riding a bike. But yeah, looking for the opportunities to praise them in a in a way that's you're not flattery, but a true. You've done this. You've done a really great job
Yeah.
of doing that. You're
Well,
and they look for ways to continue to please you.
well, has anyone come across? There's a book I came across a few years ago when I was involved in sort of management, and it's a small book, and it's actually about a guy who trains whales, and he and it's a book that's used for human resources development, in that the way he teaches the whales is always by affirming what they're doing right. And so they eventually learn what they're meant to learn by virtue of being basically praised and affirmed as they've been doing the right thing. And obviously the wee book is about how if you treat people like that, it works much better and much more effectively.
Oh yeah.
Hi,
I can imagine.
who was talking before? Who brought this idea up? I was just not. I missed that part. Who was talking about the children and how you should praise them?
Yasmin.
Yasmin?
Nicole.
Oh, Yasmin. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it's great that
pleasure.
you're doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
Well,
I looked.
acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Oh, bless you. Thank you. Because it is like, I want, I'm doing it for them, obviously, because I really want them to operate as a unit, but also for myself in a selfish sort of way. It's like, heavens, if I'm going to achieve my goals this year, I really do need to get their buy-in, get their ownership of what we're doing and get them on board, and also to be a good parent as well, to have the boundaries much more firmly in place, but also not, because I just used to be quite cross all the time. It's like, I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to be, different with them and, a lot calmer. So yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. And we now have the Bob books, the Blue Ocean Bob books. We have those. We read Think and Grow Rich, chapter 2 to one of my children. And it's, I know it's probably a bit beyond them, but, well, actually, no, I don't think it is. One of them really likes it. So it's been very, very interesting being part of this journey, because it's impacting other areas that I hadn't thought it would. So
That's really good.
it's been good.
It's a great
That's
way to
the
reinforce it being the family.
Yasmin, how are the Blue Ocean Bob books?
They're good. We only have one so far. We've got the second book, but it's great because it's it's all in rhyming language, so it's great for their sort of vocabulary development. It's just really good. I mean, we haven't gone into it in depth. We're just still enjoying learning about the characters and the things that they go off and do their adventures. But we will start to look more into the message behind it as well. But no, it's great. They're very colourful. They're good quality. Yeah, really good. I will get more. I'll get the first one, which would be sensible. We just got the second one because it was in stock and available.
Because I bought the set so far for my niece for her kids, and haven't gotten any feedback from her yet.
Oh, okay. I can tell you they're good. They're good. I mean, they like them. They asked to read. Well, we've only got one, so we should get the set. I didn't realise we could get a set.
Yeah, well, when I do things, I just go out and buy everything that's available and send it over.
Oh, wicked. You're a great uncle.
Well, I got that part from my wife. She used to buy, if there was one of something that she liked, she got them all. And now I'm paying the price because I'm taking 41 years of accumulated stuff that she has.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been another awesome call again, of course.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah,
And
thank
everybody.
you.
And,
Thank you, Nicole.
thanks, everyone. Same time,
Yeah,
same
thank
place
you.
next week.
Next week,
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
we're on it.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Have a good week.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey,
Bye.
Thank
good
you.
night, folks.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.